Hola there, my beautiful friends. I hope you're having a wonderful day. In this one, I want to show you 4 nourishing and balanced recipes that are easy to make, 2 of which more so for breakfast, and then 2 for lunch or dinner. Starting with a bulk chia seed pudding, and then moving on to a nourish bowl with pesto dressing, a quinoa porridge, and then ending with a warm, delicious chickpea curry.
1, 2, 3, let's go!
All right, my friends, let's get into this chia seed pudding. I'm using 100 grams of chia seeds, but if you don't have a measuring device that can work in grams, that's totally okay. It's about half a cup plus 2 tablespoons worth. I'm filling up a 1 liter jar about 75% of the way with water. I'll mention a recommendation for that in a hot second, but I'm adding 2 tablespoons worth of cocoa powder, 2 tablespoons worth of maca powder, 2 teaspoons worth of cordyceps, and about a half a teaspoon worth of ashwagandha, because it is really strong in flavor and I don't want this chia seed pudding to taste like ashwagandha. Half a teaspoon worth of vanilla powder, 2 tablespoons worth of sugar, and 1 tablespoon worth of tahini. I'm then filling up the rest of the jar with some plant milk. My recommendation would be add all of the dry ingredients to the jar before you add all of the wet ingredients. I just got ahead of myself with the water. I don't know why I've done this. I've made this several times now and I never put the water in with the chia seeds first. But of course, the time that I film it is when I just do something funny. I made sure everything was super well combined. I shook the jar, I stirred the jar, and then I threw it in the fridge to do its thing for about 24 hours. So I enjoyed this the next day for breakfast, but I mean, you can stick it in your fridge for half an hour and it's perfectly okay to dive into for breakfast. For me, this recipe lasts about 4 to 5 days, so I put some into my bowl along with half of a banana, some pumpkin seeds, some cranberries, some almonds, a couple dates. This weird date didn't have a pit in it and I was very confused when I ripped it open, but nature's a funny thing like that. But I've got protein, nuts, seeds, omegas, potassium, and antioxidants. All the good things that you want to start your day with. I've really been trying to implement more mindful moments in my days recently, and this chia seed pudding has just taken the stress away from making breakfast. And if you know me, you know I hate making breakfast. So this just allows my morning to open up and feel a lot less stressful and a lot more carefree. Sage has been part of my morning ritual for a long time now. I started using sage products over 10 years ago, and that's so crazy to think about because 10 years ago, I was 14 years old. This is long before YouTube was a thing, and I am so happy to have them sponsoring one of my videos. It just lights me up inside to have a brand that I've personally bought by myself and share them with you. For instance, this roller has come with me on all of my travels, and she is beaten up with 1 drop left, and I do not want to let her go. They just simply have the best essential oils, in my opinion. They are not 97%, they're not 99% natural. They are 100% natural, and they aren't trying to fool you like all of those other brands being like, we're 99% natural. What's the 1%?
What is it? Tell us. Be truthful.
Sage does not have that. I love the peppermint halo roller to help relieve the pressure in my head after staring at my computer screen all day. It just helps refresh me. Plus the extra strength roll on along my neck and my shoulders is just, it's godsend. I feel so good. These things honestly help remind me to take self-care moments throughout my day, even if it's just 30 seconds to roll one of these things on my neck and shoulders or on my temples. I feel calmer, I feel more connected to myself, I feel like I'm caring about myself, and it makes me feel so much more motivated. Nonetheless, maybe you don't believe in the essential oil woo-woo out there, and that's okay. They smell amazing either way. Absolutely incredible. And as someone that is a little bit woo, I don't use perfume, I don't use deodorant, and I have not since I was 15 years old. But these things help me feel like I can conquer my day feeling pretty without all of the chemicals on me. So if you'd like to try out a Canadian company suggested by a Canadian gal, then I highly recommend them. You can click my link down in the description box, and let me just read you the whole spiel so that way I do not miss anything included in their amazing offer. You will get 20% off site-wide plus free shipping when you use my code on all of Sage products for the next 48 hours. And this offer is valid for new and returning customers, so you don't have to fret. You do not have to enter a new email or anything. And this is for US and Canadian customers, for all my Canadian sisters and brothers out there. I love their products. I love Sage. I hope you do too. And thank you again to them for sponsoring today's video. All right, let's dive into the next recipe, which is a super nourishing bowl with a pesto dressing. I'm starting this one off by cooking up some quinoa for all of those 9 essential amino acids. And as a vegan, we do have to think about those things. I then got chopping all of the veggies and also fruit. I'm chopping up a small green apple for this recipe because green apple is such like a tart, crisp thing that throwing it into a Buddha bowl is actually a really amazing thing to do. Anyways, I got chopping up some cucumber, some yellow pepper, and I'm also going to ribbon up some carrot as well. So I'm just packing this one full with all of the color. Whatever veggies you have in the house is totally sufficient. Just be generous with yourself. And I do highly recommend doing the green apple. Moving on to making our dressing, I'm adding lots of fresh parsley and lots of fresh basil. I'm just taking it all off the stalks right now, and then I'm going to finely chop it, running it over with my knife several times to really break it down. Feel free to throw all of these ingredients in a small NutriBullet blender. It would make it so much easier. I just don't have a blender on hand, so that's why I had to chop everything with my knife. But I then squeezed in 1 lemon's juice. If your lemon is quite dry, then shove a spoon in there and just wiggle it around until you got all of the juice out. I then salted it to taste, peppered it to taste, and adding one tablespoon worth of tahini inside, along with 1 tablespoon worth of olive oil. So we're adding some extra fats to this recipe with the olive oil and tahini, which are so essential on a vegan diet because we're not eating meat, we're not getting fat from our meat. We need to include healthy oils into our diet. I felt like the recipe needed a little bit of a punch, so I'm adding about half of a clove of garlic, but if that's not your thing, then just opt it out. To my bowl, I added a good handful worth of kale, a sprinkle of salt, and a good squeeze of lemon juice, and now I'm just massaging my kale until it turns a dark, vibrant green. That just helps the digestion of kale a lot better because kale is so good for you. You want to make sure you're soaking up all of those nutrients. Mixed some spinach in there and then adding the quinoa that we cooked up. I had some brown lentils hanging out in the fridge that I needed to use up, so I added a good pile of those to the bowl along with our ribbon carrot, our beautifully yellow pepper, our cucumber, our green apple, along with our green peas. I also had some leftover potato in the fridge, so I just warmed those up and threw them into the bowl to add some starch because we don't have any starchiness to this recipe, and I thought potato would be the perfect element for it. After the beauty shots of this colorful bowl, I dressed it up with my pesto dressing and thoroughly enjoyed.
To meet you at your mom's house, so I apologize.
Realizing I forgot to add some nutritional yeast to this, I sprinkled some on top for my vitamin Bs along with a small handful of almonds. All right, let's move on to this quinoa porridge. I don't know about you, but oats make me sleepy. Like I need to go have a nap after I eat them, so I avoid them for breakfast at all costs. So this quinoa porridge is for all my brothers and sisters that feel the same way. I mashed a banana in my pot, added half of a cup of red quinoa. You can use whatever quinoa your heart desires. It does not have to be red. That was just what was on sale in the grocery store, so I bought it. Adding half of a cup of vegan milk, along with half of a cup of water. And for a little extra banana bread vibe, I added half of a teaspoon of vanilla powder. Mixed that all on up and then threw the lid on top and allowed it to cook until it came to a nice boil. Giving everything a good stir, I realized that maybe I added a little bit too much liquid, so I just let it cook without the lid for a few minutes, gave it another stir, added the lid back on top, and then it finished cooking on low heat. And now we're ready to build our bowl. So I threw that into my bowl along with a good scoop of vegan yogurt, some frozen blueberries. You can 100% warm up your blueberries in a pot or in the microwave. You can also swap them for strawberries or raspberries. Either way, we want to get some antioxidants into our diet, so add some berries, also adding some cashews and some almonds for those extra fats, and then sprinkling everything with some cocoa powder for that magnesium and iron and zinc, and also just the absolute deliciousness that cocoa powder is. And that's it, that's all, enjoy.
Just wait, it won't be too long till we arrive the coming day. Please ignore my restless face, 'cause it's so hard to keep it all together ever since we...
Let's dive into our delicious, warming, nourishing curry. That's very many words to describe this one, but I am soaking 1 cup worth of dried chickpeas. I didn't use all of the chickpeas in this curry. I just finished up the bag and used some more for other recipes, but I set that aside for 6 to 8 hours. And I did actually sprout those chickpeas, which I didn't fully film the process. However, after many thoughts and configurations of my apartment and kitchen, I decided we needed a change. And I need you guys. I need your opinions. I need your thoughts. I figured that having this little white table would be a good way to add some more light to the final shots of my recipes. I don't know if you remember, but several years ago, 2 years ago, I had like the perfect setup in my old apartment and I miss it. I do. It's been extremely hard to recreate, but we're trying. All right, after that sidetracked mission, let's get into the actual curry now. Pulling out all of the ingredients because I highly suggest prepping everything before you start cooking this recipe, just to make sure that you're not burning anything in the process. So finely chopping up half of an onion. We want the onion essence and the onion flavor to be there, but not to bite into a big chunk of onion in this curry. I'm peeling and then also smally chopping some carrot. I guess a better way to say that is I diced carrot small, along with 1 potato and 1.5 eggplants. These eggplants were quite small, so if you have a more medium-sized eggplant, then you can just use 1 medium eggplant. And if you have a large eggplant, then you can either add all of it and have some extra eggplant in this recipe, and or leave a little extra for the next recipe that you make with eggplant. I then got on to dicing up some celery. I'm doing 2 ribs of celery, half of a head of cauliflower, just breaking those florets off and chopping them into bite-sized pieces. And after all of the prep, I got about 2 tablespoons worth of olive oil and my onion into a pot on low heat, gave that a good stir, added some sliced ginger and garlic, about 1 inch worth of ginger and 4 cloves of garlic, seasoned everything with a pinch of salt. And once those things were fragrant, 30 to 45 seconds later, I threw in my cubed eggplant, my celery, and my carrot. This mixture is going to be super fragrant and just smell up your kitchen in the best way possible. I threw the lid on top and allowed everything to cook for about 8 minutes before throwing in a large diced tomato. I do recommend using fresh tomato for this. I don't really like the flavor of canned tomato for this recipe. I also added 2 tablespoons worth of sugar. Just trust me on it, okay, my friends? Sugar is not bad for you. It's just an excess that it is. I added my potato and my cauliflower along with 1.5 tablespoons of my favorite curry powder. You can add a little bit more or a little less, just depending on your liking. I added a little pinch of cumin seed and coriander seed along with about 1/4 of a lemon's juice. I then threw my sprouted chickpeas in there along with 1/4 cup of water, just to add a little extra juiciness into the mixture and help the potatoes and cauliflower cook. threw the lid on top, and about 35 minutes later, everything was ready. I cooked some brown rice off camera. You can use white rice or quinoa, it really doesn't matter that much. I then plated up my curry and sprinkled it all with some cilantro, some chopped up cashews, almonds, and served it with a wedge of lime as well. Please, please, please let me know how you like this new setup that I have. I feel like this was a little bit later in the evening that I filmed this, so maybe during the day the lighting will be a little bit brighter. We'll get some sunny moments in here. I think it's cute, but you're the one watching my videos, so please let me know what's up. But this marks the end of this one. I truly hope you enjoyed it, and if you try any of these recipes, let me know down in the comments. I love you. I appreciate your support more than you know, and I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. See you soon. Ah.
I take you home tonight. Pick it up like every other time.